Hey artists, welcome back to the channel. So today is a little vlog about some of my favorite books and some of my recommended books and some of my books that you can't even get anymore, but most of them you can. I'll explain later. So I just think it's really nice to have books on hand. I know that, we have the world of Google and we have just about every resource that we can possibly imagine right at our fingertips, but having a book in the physical is exhilarating because it's you time and it has a different effect on your brain, I believe, to be able to thumb through books. I try to be as inclusive as possible and kind of cover everything, but I probably will have to make a part 2 because I have so many favorite books. So let's go ahead and get started and we'll go from there. I am reading Living the Creative Life, Ideas and Inspiration from Working Artists by, hopefully I'm not butchering this too, Freeman-Zachary. Anyways, the story behind this is that my mother actually found this at a Goodwill for I think $3 or something like that. She's like, I would love for you to have this, and I know that it would help you through your journey as an artist. And I was like, okay, cool, awesome. I kind of set it aside and I kind of forgot about it. And then I kind of hit a funk recently, and I've had this for several months now, and I just thought to myself, what is it that I need? I just kind of called out to the universe and I said, hey, what is it that I need to read or see or gain from my experience and spark the inner fire again? I didn't really even look deliberately. It was just kind of like the first thing that my eye went to was this. And I tell you what, it's such a joy to read this. And sometimes what I'll do is I'll just flip this open and see, like, there's these segments called Try This. And, there's one in particular here where it talks about like the different kinds of music and what you like to do for your own little ritual, whatever you start artwork. And really it's just to stimulate your creative fire. And it's that first step into getting from uninspired to inspired. And it talks about lighting a candle and putting it on your work area somewhere. And so of course you don't want to leave the candle unattended. So there you are. You're guided to create again. So I just absolutely love this book and I just want to let you know about it. There are several other books by this author. I'm working on reading Creative Time and Space. That's another one from this particular author. But I'll put the link in the description box below for the book on Amazon. Please, if you have time to read it or just kind of pick it up and thumb through it, it's really an enriching experience to have this on hand for those of you who kind of just need a little bit of a boost or just a creative idea, and just to see these working artists do their own thing and see their workspaces too as well. It's a nice little read. Another wonderful book to just pick up at any time that you need some inspiration is the Sketching from the Imagination, an Insight into Creative Drawing. Now 3D Total Publishing makes these books and they've got several different kinds. This is kind of just the overview. There are some that are built for sci-fi and fantasy drawing and different types of characters and things like that. I just kind of wanted to delve into it just a little bit and just get the sort of general one. But what they have in here is they have lists of artists from A to Z, and each artist kind of talks about their creative process, and it just has some wonderful illustrations in here, and it kind of just gets your brain going. And it also, they talk about their process, and it's just really nice to see what other people do sometimes. And yeah, see, like that's gorgeous. And there's some really just creative people out there, and things that other people draw sometimes I would have never thought about drawing, and whenever I see this I'm like, ooh. It's kind of a rough little sketch there with highlights. And then there's, some fantasy stuff in there as well. And it's just a nice little one to pick up and have on hand when you're just kind of not really wanting to start a project, but maybe you feel like you should. It's also a great little resource for just looking at on hand and kind of gathering ideas. Oh, it's getting smaller and smaller. It's wonderful that I have this on hand. Oh my gosh, these are so big. That's what she said. That's not nice. It's naughty. For any particular portrait artist that's serious about expanding their knowledge, I give you my highest recommendation is Andrew Loomis's books. Andrew Loomis was a genius. He could do anything. He knew color, he knew shading and light, he knew depth and realism, he knew how to draw women, men, children, teenagers, old people, just hands. He could do hands like there was nobody's business. But this one in particular is one of my favorites because naturally I'm drawn to drawing people and faces. You know, you got different types of mouths, ears. It goes over kind of character expressions as well. And, you know, there's a segment for men. Look at that guy. So dapper. He's so dapper. And I think of George Clooney and Oh Brother Where Art Thou whenever I see that one. But you know, they've got little structures for the face, and yeah, he goes into a really great depth of how the mechanics of drawing the head works. We've got babies in here, hands, and everybody knows that, you know, hands are a pretty complex thing to learn how to draw. You really want to like learn how to create realism and shading and light. This is the book for you. But hopefully I won't get flagged for this. But the cover is Figure Drawing for All It's Worth by Andrew Loomis. And, you know, we got some cheesecake on the cover there. But, I mean, he goes into great depth about the perspective of the figure. And, you know, I believe, I can't remember which comic book artist it was that credited Andrew Loomis as his source of inspiration whenever he's going to draw, and he works for Marvel, I believe. I'll have to look him up and put a little box below. But the flat diagram, important uses of the map or flat diagram, you know, we go from like 2D to 3D, and just, he goes into great depth. And honestly, I would love to find more time to go through this particular book and sit down and actually like read it cover to cover. I'm more one of these people that, you know, I don't always have the time, so I'll just, you know, pick it up whenever I need it and look through the things that I need to look through and read so I can kind of gain some perspective and inspiration. But lighting, isn't this awesome? I mean, and, you know, we got some snapshots of running poses, things like that. We got some quote-unquote nudity, but, you know, I can't really show you that right now. And one last one from Andrew Loomis is Creative Imagination. One last book from Andrew Loomis is Creative Illustration. This one in particular goes through, I mean, it's so heavy, I'm so sorry, but I'm trying my best here. It goes in depth into a lot of different types of topics. Some incredible focal point subject compositions. You know, he could do oil scumbling, he could do opaque watercolor, he could do charcoal, he could do characters and portraits, and he could do oil paintings, and he understood color. He also, oh my gosh, he also did magazine ads back in the day, and my father was a sign painter and understood advertising and marketing, so he really appreciated things like this where it's got, you know, advertisements for crispy corn, you know, Lily Soft soap. I'm telling you, just, you know, he could do scripting, he could do advertising, he knew it all. Here we go. Look at how freaking gorgeous this is. I mean, he knew how to do it all. I aspire to be that intelligent in my artwork. Every artist could benefit from all of his work, all of his books. Now, the other two are kind of specifically about drawing figures and drawing heads and drawing portraits. This in particular would cover many different types of subject matters for artists. So, you know, if you're not a portrait artist, this is the one for you. And I highly recommend the investment. They're a little bit more expensive. They're anywhere from, I think, $25 to $35 on Amazon, but they're so worth it. And to just have them in hardback, yeah, they're bulky, but you gotta love them. I couldn't bring up favorite books without bringing up Jane Davenport. So yeah, this one's a classic. It's a little bit of a cult classic. The drawing and painting beautiful faces. She's got a certain style of artwork, but take a look at just some of the eye candy that's in here. It's so colorful. I love it. It's just, I mean, the photography is gorgeous. She's so whimsical. Look at that. That's beautiful. And she kind of goes over, you know, the basics, and, you know, it may not be for everybody, but just for the color alone and just for, you know, some of the projects that she does, I kind of like the way that she does things. And she works with different mediums. She's a mixed media artist. She's got a lot of different really cool art supplies, and I promise you I'm going to sit down and review all of them. I got that big box, and I'll link it up and put a card up here. But yeah, there's so many different things, and this is the kind of stuff that you want to approach whenever you're really looking to flourish and, you know, feel that magic again whenever you're working on art. Those colored pencil artists that are really looking to explore the different types of effects you can get and the textures, This is the book. This is Creating Textures in Colored Pencil by Garrett Green, 15th anniversary edition. And he goes through step by step. He uses Prismacolor, but you can kind of adapt it to your own. It's kind of cool because it just kind of breaks it down step by step. And he talks about every color that he uses and in every project. And it's just kind of nice to have on hand because you may not necessarily be looking for any particular texture right now, but to have it later, if you need something to look up and be like, hey, you know, I don't know how to draw denim jeans. I don't know how to render this, you know, this is it. This is a good starting point. I personally like a little bit more depth, like he had in those peppers and in this apple, and not all of it is consistent, but it's a good starting point for everybody, I think, that wants to really develop themselves in colored pencil. This one I find myself going back to quite a bit. It is the well-loved The Artist's Way, A Spiritual Path to Higher Creativity, Julia Cameron with Mark Bryan. It is not a how-to workbook. It's a very soulful approach. It's a weekly thing. It's really an enriching experience to have this on hand, and I think every artist can benefit from it. If you have, it goes over like workaholism, getting through blocks, some of the things that I talk about in my Art and Soul series. You know, drought, the ebb and flow of being an artist is covered in here. There's so many other things. It's really good for those who have kind of been conditioned to squander their creativity over the course of their, you know, childhood and then getting into adult life. Sometimes we get conditioned to think that, you know, we shouldn't let out that inner child. We end up suppressing that, and we think, oh, well, you know, I have to, you know, do this and go 9 to 5, and, you know, I have this and I have this and I have this, and, you know, you don't give yourself enough time. And also for those who actually do have a career in the arts as a full-time artist, this is also good for you too. I think it's a book for every artist, no matter what your medium is, any kind of creative artist, even beyond just the visual art. I think it's good for dancers. I think it's good for any type of, anything in the arts related. It's good for, you know, your soul to read this, and you can benefit from it. So that is awesome. A Course in Discovering and Recovering Your Creative Self. Pen and Ink from the Walter Foster Publishing. This one has several different artists that have several different styles. I really like this. This has the one particular artist in here that got famous for his red-headed drawing. There we go. Look at that. That's all ballpoint pen. Samuel Silva, that's his name. This was all ballpoint pen too, and they look like oil paintings. There's also, you know, pointillism, and it's just kind of a nice little book to have on hand whenever you're feeling some inspiration for pen and ink and trying to get some ideas and seeing how the artist approaches things. We got these little beautiful pointillism portraits, just gorgeous. So that's a good one to have on hand. It's also some eye candy for you. So that's it for today, folks. Thank you for joining me. If you liked the video, please give it a thumbs up. I'll have a part 2 very soon, and I hope to see you all again soon, and keep creating, artists. Look at you, you're so sweet, you're good buddy you have. Increase your skills. Increase your skills. Wow, look at that. Just to kind of know where you're going with this thing is, you know, I'm getting tired of talking.